After leaving the Kinabatangan Wildlife Lodge, we then journeyed to Tabin. On our way there, just before we crossed the Kinabatangan River, we stopped over the Batu Tulug Museum, which unfortunately was closed. It's a little hill, hollow limestone caves again, which meant bats, which was not my focus, but bat hawks were. Unfortunately, the museum was closed, but we managed to look from the highway with binoculars, and I then flew my drone to go and have a look at the bat hawks. We could see 4 of them perched in a tree. We then continued our journey across the Kinabatangan River down to Lahad Datu, and it takes about 40 minutes to an hour, depending on how many times you stop for birds, to Tabin Wildlife Lodge. And it's the oldest lodge in the area. It's run by the government. Tabin Wildlife Reserve was started or created in 1984 by Sabah Parks, and the reserve is about 122,500 hectares, a fairly large reserve. And a lot of the reserve is secondary forest. In other words, the big trees were logged out earlier on, but there is still some primary rainforest there. This is also the last remaining stronghold of the Borneo rhinoceros. They tried to get them to breed here, and they put the last 3 remaining ones here, and they eventually died out. Last one died in 2019. The bird life is absolutely amazing in this area, and this is the main reason I wanted to go and see Tabin Wildlife Reserve. Now, the accommodation, the Tabin Wildlife Lodge, the accommodation is really good. There are 2 places to stay. There's a new lodge called the Tabin Rainforest Lodge, which you can also stay at, but recently opened 2024, and I don't have much details about it, except that it's actually based in the Sungai Kapur Forest Reserve, which is adjoining the Tabin Reserve, and it has only 12 rooms, but very focused on birding. I believe they have some bird hides as well. A fair amount of this reserve has been logged previously, so there is quite a lot of secondary growth, but this is where you mostly find the birds and everything feeding on these ecotones between the secondary growth and the primary forest, as well as between the secondary growth and the date palm plantations. In Tabin, the bird life is amazing. Now, you can choose 2 options. First option is the standard tourism option for wildlife, and you can do day walks, and you can also do night drives and that. Some people just opt for the drive, and you mostly travel along the existing road, along the edge of the forestry area. So that's the ecotone between the forest, secondary forest, and the date palm plantations. Now, this is where most of the birds and animals forage. So although you're next to the forest and between the plantations, it's still a very productive area as far as birds go. The guides, if you choose the second option, the guide there, we had a guy called Rafal, extremely knowledgeable on birds, and for somebody who's not really clued up on the calls and everything and used to looking at the forest, Rafal was excellent. He could spot these birds, and he would accompany my daughter and I and through the forest, and Rafal would spot birds that we would never have seen. He also identified a lot of these birds. Now, the going through the forest it's quite wet. We were there in the dry season, which is still quite wet, and leeches can be a problem. We didn't wear leech socks, but we also didn't wear gumboots. But advisable you can hire gumboots at the resort and wear leech socks.
Okay. See the vine there? Above the point.
About a foot above the pointer. No, it's in the front. And this is which one? Which babbler?
Yeah, babbler.
Which one?
Rufous crown babbler.
Large wood. Photography is not easy in this forest because it's very dark and especially the smaller birds are moving very quickly. But Rafal had a pointer, a laser pointer, so he could quickly flash it near the birds. You don't want to flash it onto them because they tend to get a fright. So you'd flash it near it so you could have a better idea of seeing them. Some of the birds sit quietly, so not easy to pick up, but he had really good, excellent eyes, and he was fairly patient. We had another couple with my daughter and I, and they were good birders as well and good photographers, but you need a longish lens, at least I had a 100 to 500, and they had even longer lenses with the extenders. Yeah.
Follow this tree up. One branch to the right.
Eating something. Takes about 40 minutes to an hour from Lahad Datu to get to Tabin. The road is a tar road for most of the way, and then you turn off on a compacted gravel road. Fairly rough, but a normal two-wheel drive, unless it's extremely wet, normal two-wheel drive can manage it if you go slowly. And you can get to once you're at the reserve, you're not allowed to drive around, you just stay there. They also have a shuttle bus to fetch you from Lahad Datu airport, so it's probably easier just to fly in from Kota Kinabalu. There are flights daily, and that's probably what most people do there. We had 3 nights there, 4 days in theory, and not a cheap reserve, but the food is excellent. You're a long way from anywhere. Lahad Datu is, I think, the closest little town, and we had all our meals there, but food was excellent, so not cheap. The other option that you can choose in the area is the Danum Forest Lodge as well, which is really upmarket. I'd say one step maybe above Tabin. I've never been there, but from what I can gather, really upmarket and everything. But that's primary forest, and that's also roughly in that area, but back to the west of Lahad Datu. Tailor bird is called a tailor bird because it sews leaves together to make a nest for it to lay its eggs in. Yeah. The night drives are very interesting because you'll see the civets, especially the palm civets, climbing up the fig trees and eating figs. You can see the common Asian civet as well. I was not fortunate enough to see the small cats and also the clouded leopard, which is quite rare but can be seen here occasionally. So very nice to go on the night drives, see the owls, the night birds and that as well.